No one else at the table needed me to know the truth. They were perfectly fine if I never learned it at all. Grandpa simply set down his fork, opened his laptop, and asked, almost casually, "Ellen, did you get the email about your trust fund?" The first 10 seconds were just noise to me. Clattering silverware. Someone's sharp inhale. The faint hum of the dining room light. My mother went completely still. My sister stared at her plate like it was suddenly fascinating. And I felt something inside me tilt, like the floor had shifted an inch to the left, because I did not even know I had a trust fund. And what my grandfather showed me next did not just change that dinner, it changed how I understood my entire life. My name is Rachel Hale. And for most of my life, I thought being the quiet one kept everything easier for everyone. When you grow up in a house where your sister's achievements are displayed like trophies and your own wants are treated like background noise, you learn to shrink. You learn to soften your voice, take up less space, stay useful and not difficult. You survive by not asking for too much. My mother used to say, "Do not make things complicated, Rachel," in the same tone other parents used for, "sleep well," or, "love you." I believed her. I thought that was how good daughters behaved. That is why, sitting at my grandfather's Thanksgiving table, hearing the words trust fund felt like someone had reached back into every year of my childhood and snapped the memories in half. Trust fund. Mine. It sounded ridiculous. I grew up counting coins in a jar, working weekends at the grocery store, stitching up sleeves on thrift store sweaters so they would fit. I asked my mother more than once if we had anything put away for college, and I always got the same soft, tired answer. We are doing our best. Money is tight. Money was never tight for Marissa. My older sister had dance lessons. Summer intensive programs. A car at 17. New costumes every year. Somehow, it all made sense back then. She was the star. The one everyone expected to shine. I convinced myself I simply did not need as much, that not needing was some kind of virtue. Grandpa Arthur was the exception to all of that. He never treated me like a shadow. He remembered which books I loved. He asked about my job at the college, not in passing, but with follow-up questions. He drove to my graduation, even when my parents insisted traffic would be too bad to bother. And still, even he had never said a single word about any trust fund. Not once. So when he asked that question across the table, I was not just confused. I was embarrassed in that very specific way that curls behind your ribs. The kind that whispers maybe you are the only one at the table who does not understand what is going on. My mother's face did not help. She did not look at me. She looked at Grandpa instead. Sharp. Warning. Like she was silently ordering him to close the laptop before I saw anything. My father kept sawing through his turkey even though no one was eating. Marissa raised her glass to her mouth but did not take a sip. Every tiny movement felt choreographed, like they had practiced this moment without me. And maybe they had. Because the truth hit me before the screen even finished turning. Someone at that table had been making decisions about my finances, my options, my future. Someone had been editing the story of my life while I was busy being easy. And if I was right, this was not a small misunderstanding. It was 10 years of silence stacked on top of one very deliberate lie. Grandpa did not rush. His fingers moved over the laptop slowly, carefully, like he was giving everyone a chance to stop him if they dared. No one dared. He turned the screen toward me. The light from it washed across the plates, the candles, the tight line of my mother's jaw. I leaned forward, my heart pounding so loudly it almost drowned out everything else. Rows of emails came into focus. Subject lines repeating over and over. Annual trust statement. Beneficiary notice. Contact confirmation. 10 years of messages. 10 years of updates. 10 years of information that was supposed to be mine. None of them had ever reached me. For a second, I grabbed onto any excuse I could find. Maybe the bank had the wrong address. Maybe there was another girl with my name. Maybe this was some ridiculous administrative glitch. My mother even whispered, "That cannot be right," like she was the one being blindsided. I clicked on the sender details. The contact information opened in a small box on the side of the screen. And every last excuse I had tried to believe dropped dead. The email listed was not mine. It had never been mine. It was a variation of my mother's. The same address I had seen on old household bills and online payment confirmations, the one she used for financial accounts she handled. My stomach dropped straight through the floor. "Why?" I asked, and my voice came out small but clear. "Why would these be going to your email?" I was not accusing her. Not yet. I was just trying to breathe while everything I knew about my life shifted. My mother did not blink. "I do not know, Rachel. Banks make mistakes all the time." Grandpa did not look away from her. "They do not make this kind," he said quietly. A flush crept up my mother's neck. My father shifted in his chair, like he was ready to jump in and defend her, but no words came out. Marissa glanced between them, eyes wide, not sure if she should be scared for me or scared this would affect her. I opened the earliest email. Year 10. I remembered that year too well. It was the year I asked if we had anything at all, set aside to help with tuition because my scholarship did not cover everything. "We are doing our best," Mom had said. "Money is tight, sweetheart." Except it was not tight. Not for the person those emails were meant for. Not for me. I scrolled through the next year. And the next. And the next. Every email I opened lined up perfectly with a moment when I had asked for help or needed a break and had been told to manage alone. Nights I skipped dinner to stretch my paycheck. Mornings I walked to class in the rain because my car was broken and repairs would have to wait. Summers where I worked double shifts while Marissa traveled for dance camps in other cities. Each memory sharpened against the glow of the laptop screen. Grandpa finally spoke, his voice steady. "Rachel, these are yours. They always were. Someone made sure you never saw them." The walls of the dining room seemed to inch closer. The air felt heavier. I could feel my mother staring at me now, half warning, half panic. I closed the laptop gently. Not to avoid what was inside, but to keep my anger from erupting all at once. Because now I knew this was not a mistake. Someone had rewritten my life on purpose. I did not open the laptop again right away. I just kept my hands on the closed lid, feeling the warmth of the screen under my palms. 10 years of statements. 10 years of silence. 10 years of being told to be practical, patient, grateful. All while the help I begged for existed under my own name, buried where I could not reach it. And for the first time in a long time, something in me stopped folding and started standing up. I sat there with my hands on the closed laptop, the warmth of it seeping into my palms like a truth I could no longer ignore. 10 years. 10 years of struggling, stretching every dollar, smiling through exhaustion, believing life was hard because I needed to be stronger. 10 years of hearing my mother's favorite phrase, "Money is tight," while Marissa floated through life cushioned by opportunities one never even knew existed. And now I understood why every memory suddenly felt sharper, harsher, more humiliating. Freshman year, when my card declined at the bookstore and I stood there pretending I forgot to transfer money. Sophomore year winter break, when I worked extra shifts just to afford rent while Marissa posted photos from her week-long dance intensive in California. Junior year, when my car broke down and I walked to class in the rain, shivering and terrified I would lose my job if I was late again. The nights I cried in bathroom stalls because I didn't know how I was going to pay for textbooks or groceries. Every time my mother told me patience was a virtue. And all along, money under my name sat untouched. Hidden. Frozen in an email inbox I never had access to. "Finances are complicated," Mom said suddenly, her voice tight, dismissive, the same tone she used whenever I asked questions she did not want to answer. "We are not jumping to conclusions, Rachel. You don't understand how these things work. The words stung. Because they were familiar. Weaponized softness wrapped around condescension. Grandpa did not tolerate it. "Elaine," he said, slow and deliberate. "Explain why her address was replaced with yours." My mother's eyes flicked toward my father. A silent command. A plea. A warning. He shifted in his seat but didn't speak. So she tried a different angle. "I manage the household paperwork," she said, smoothing her napkin with shaking fingers. "If something needed updating, I probably handled it by mistake." A mistake. For 10 years. Email after email. Annual updates. Contact confirmations. My entire financial identity rerouted into her inbox. Someone might have believed that. But not me. Not anymore. I pushed my chair back a few inches, the legs scraping the hardwood, slicing through the suffocating quiet. "If it was a mistake," I said softly, "then why was I the only one in this family who didn't know I had a trust fund?" Mom straightened as if prepared for battle. "Do not drag your sister into this." "I'm not dragging anyone," I said, my voice steady. "I'm asking why someone made sure I never saw what belonged to me." Marissa shrank back, eyes wide, her fingers curling around her water glass. For the first time all night, my mother had no immediate answer. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her shoulders tightened, her hands trembling around her napkin. Grandpa leaned forward slightly, his voice gentler when he spoke to me. "Rachel, you deserve the truth. And you deserve control over your own finances." Control. A word I had never been offered. Not once. I exhaled, slow, quiet, steady. "This ends tonight." I wasn't yelling. I wasn't crying. But the firmness in my voice felt like steel being forged. Grandpa pushed his chair back with a decisive scrape and stood. His joints creaked with age, but the weight of his presence filled every inch of the room. "We're not finishing dinner," he said calmly, "until we understand what happened here." My mother stiffened. My father sat straighter. Marissa swallowed hard. No one protested. Grandpa gestured toward the living room. "All of us. Come on." We moved together, a tense procession, from the dining room to his study. The air felt heavier inside that room. The walls were lined with certificates, shelves of law books, photos of him with judges and veterans and community leaders. The old family crest hung behind his desk like a silent witness. This room did not tolerate excuses. Grandpa set the laptop on his desk. "Sit," he said. No one disobeyed. Mom sat beside my father, spine rigid, face drawn tight. Marissa hovered near the doorway, as if hoping she could disappear. Dad looked pale, like he finally realized this wasn't some small misunderstanding. I stood behind the chair Grandpa pulled out for me, hands gripping the backrest, grounding myself. Grandpa clicked into the email records again. The blue-white glow cast long shadows on the wall. "Here," he said, opening an email from 10 years ago, the year I turned 17. This is when the contact information was changed. The screen displayed the edit. My old email crossed out. Replaced by another. My mother's. A deliberate entry. Time-stamped. Logged. Verified. Mom's breath caught. "That could be anything," she said quickly. "Banks update things automatically." "They don't," Grandpa cut in, "not without the account holder or guardian requesting it." I looked at my father. "Did you request it?" His eyes lowered. He shook his head. "No, so who did?" I asked quietly. No one answered. Grandpa clicked the next email. A confirmation message thanking the user for verifying the new contact information. The IP address traced back to our home in Seattle. My mother's voice cracked. "I was just trying to keep things organized." I stared at her. The woman who taught me to say thank you for scraps of attention. Who smiled while telling me to make do? Who watched me struggle and told me it built character? Organized? I repeated. Mom, you left me working double shifts while money in my name sat untouched. She flinched like the words hurt. You were too young to understand responsibility, she snapped. I didn't want you relying on money you didn't earn. A humorless laugh slipped from me. But Marissa could. Marissa's eyes shined with guilt. I didn't know it was yours, she whispered. I swear. Mom said, don't, Mom hissed. Do not say another word. But it was too late. The truth was already spilling out. Grandpa leaned back, his voice stern. Elaine, you kept a financial asset from its rightful owner. That's not organization. That's control. My mother's voice sharpened. I did what I had to do for the family, for stability. Rachel never needed much. Marissa needed everything. I stared at her. So that's it. She pressed her lips together, refusing to answer. Dad cleared his throat, voice low, broken. Elaine, we should have told her. We should have, Richard, Mom snapped. Not now. Grandpa did not let them dodge it. You lied, he said. To me. To her. For a decade. Mom's jaw trembled. Arthur, you don't understand. He locked eyes with her. I understand enough. The room was silent. Then Grandpa opened another email, dated 3 years ago. The subject line read, Annual Allocation Update. 3 years ago. The year I could barely afford groceries. The year I sat crying in a cramped bathroom stall because I felt like I was failing adulthood. The year Marissa went to Europe for her dance program, paid for without hesitation. Money that could have changed everything. Mom, I whispered. Why? She closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek, but her voice was still defensive. Because you wouldn't have made good decisions. You were always sensitive, easily overwhelmed. I needed to protect you from wasting it. My breath caught. Protect me. But I understood now. She didn't hide the money because I was irresponsible. She hid it because she feared I'd grow up without needing her approval. That wasn't your decision, I said softly. My mother shook her head, still refusing to face the truth. Everything I did was for this family. Grandpa looked at her, eyes sharp. Then why didn't you do it to Marissa? Why didn't you reroute her trust fund emails? The question sliced through every excuse she had. She had no answer. The question hit harder than anything else that night. Why didn't you redirect Marissa's trust fund emails? It landed like a blow, clean and undeniable. Mom's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Her fingers twisted the napkin in her lap until it was a tight, wrinkled rope. Marissa looked like she wanted to disappear into the floorboards. Dad stared at the carpet, guilt crawling into every line of his face. The silence in that study felt heavier than any yelling could have. Grandpa didn't rush her. He just let the weight of the truth settle. The soft hum of his desk lamp was the only sound until my mother inhaled shakily. I did what I had to do, she whispered, but even she didn't sound convinced. For the family. Her voice cracked on the last word. I stepped forward, feeling my pulse thudding steady, no longer frantic. Family doesn't mean hiding things from one child while giving everything to another. Her jaw clenched. You were different, Rachel. You didn't need as much. You were always so quiet, so gentle. You didn't push. You didn't challenge anything. I thought keeping things simple would help you. Simple. The word hit me like a slap. Simple meant small. Simple meant uninformed. Simple meant controlled. I didn't look away. I wasn't quiet because life was easy. I was quiet because every time I asked a question, you shut me down. Every time I needed something, I was told we couldn't afford it while Marissa got everything handed to her like it was oxygen. Marissa winced. Rachel, I didn't know. I swear I didn't. I believed her. Not everything was her fault. She had been the beneficiary of the system, not the architect of it. Mom's eyes flicked toward her again, the same warning glare she'd been giving her all night. Don't involve her in this, she snapped. But there was no turning back now. Grandpa clicked another tab. Another email. Another year where my trust fund grew quietly while I was left to drown. This, he said, isn't a slip-up. It isn't an oversight. This was maintained. Intentionally. Dad shifted, his voice low and small. Elaine, we should have told her. We should have, Mom whipped her head toward him. Richard, stop talking. But he didn't stop. Not this time. No, he said quietly. She deserves the truth. The room froze. For years, my father had been the silent shadow behind my mother's decisions, nodding along, letting things slide. This was the first time he chose me instead. My mother swallowed hard. I was trying to protect her. Protect me from what? I asked. My own life. She was shaking now, barely holding herself together. You were always the sensitive one, she whispered. If you had known about that money, you would have taken risks. You would have moved away. You would have lived differently. You weren't ready. The truth hit me so suddenly it felt like the air left my lungs. She didn't hide the money because she thought I'd waste it. She hid it because she was afraid I'd grow without her permission. Afraid I'd stop needing her. Afraid I'd stop playing the quiet, grateful daughter who made her feel in control. I took a breath, steady and certain. Mom, that wasn't your choice to make. Her eyes glossed with tears she didn't let fall. Grandpa closed the laptop gently. Rachel should have full access now, he said. Everything in her name, everything intended for her. I'll contact the bank representative tonight. My mother's head snapped up. You can't just, I can, Grandpa said. And I will. She looked at me, panic finally surfacing in her eyes. Rachel, please. We can work this out privately. This doesn't need to become, no, I said. For once, this doesn't stay in the dark. Her shoulders slumped as if someone had pulled the strings that held her upright. She was unraveling, the calm facade finally cracking. She stood abruptly but her knees buckled slightly, and she had to steady herself against the desk. You don't understand what this means, she whispered. If you take control of everything, if you change the access, everything we built, I interrupted softly. Mom, you didn't build it. You borrowed it from me. The words landed like a stone dropped into deep water. No shouting. No chaos. Just impact. Mom sank back into her chair, hollow and small in a way I had never seen before. Grandpa put a hand on my shoulder. You're doing the right thing, he said gently. For the first time, I felt it too. Not triumph. Not revenge. Just clarity. I looked at the laptop, at the decade of stolen choices and rearranged truths, and I knew everything in my life had just shifted. Before and after. This moment was the split. Grandpa stepped aside to make a call, his voice calm but firm as he spoke to the bank representative. It didn't take long. Within minutes, the representative confirmed the changes. Every notification would now come directly to me. My email. My address. My control. Hearing my own name listed as the rightful contact felt surreal. Like stepping into a version of myself I had never been allowed to be. When the call ended, Grandpa squeezed my hand once, solid, proud, present. My mother didn't speak again. She just stared at the floor, shoulders curled inward. My father finally met my eyes. His expression was heavy with guilt, but also something softer. Regret. Real regret. Maybe even realization. Marissa whispered a small apology when she passed me on the way out. I didn't know, she said. I'm sorry. I believed her. And that was enough for now. After everyone left, I stayed alone in Grandpa's study, scrolling through the newly restored emails. 10 years of what-ifs. 10 years of decisions made without me. 10 years of being told I was too fragile to handle my own future. But now, my future was mine again. I left Grandpa's house with only my coat and a decade's worth of clarity. For the first time in my life, my future belonged to me, not the people who were afraid I'd claim it. If you've ever had someone rewrite your story without your permission. If this hit something inside you, you're not alone. Share your experience below, and don't forget to subscribe for what comes next.